I'm going to share my favorite tips for using the rotating stamp platform and Tim Holtz products today to create a background that's both spooky and fun, and you can easily follow along. Let's get started. On my cards today, I'm going to be using some Stampers Anonymous products along with my rotating stamp platform. This I picked up at Joann's last year. Is the Halloween Stamp and Stencil set. And then I'm also going to be using the creative thinless dies that I picked up out of my stash. All right, we're going to be using square card today. So I have cut all my pieces for that. I'll have measurements on my blog. We're going to start out with the rotating stamp platform from Creative Craft Products. And this is a fabulous tool, y'all. It has a magnetic base that you can use for the little magnetic knob right there that I just took off is what holds your stamp in place. You want to make sure that it's set at 0 when you're lining your paper up in the little grids right there that I just pointed out. And we're going to go ahead and line our stamp up where we want it to be on our square. I think it's 5 1/4 by 5 1/4 inch square panel. That's what I'm using today. So I'm lining that up in between the little lines on the grid, and where that falls on that grid, you will see the pink and black lines. Those tell you the degrees. And if you look up at the top, it has the degrees out there and printed in black, and then a number printed beside that, and that's the number of times you are going to turn your cardstock to get the perfect wreath every time. So I've lined that up, and mine's in between the two 90-degree marks in the bottom, so I'm going to turn 4 times. So I've inked that up with some black soot distress oxide ink, and I've stamped that down. So now I'm going to turn my little knob 4 times, and it's super easy to figure out. I was kind of surprised. Now I can take and ink that up again, and because it is spring hinged, if I mess up or don't get enough pressure, I can easily restamp like you see here. And this is going to be part of the background of our card if I didn't mention that. So I've stamped that down, not once, but twice. So I'm going to turn that 4 more times because I missed one little spot. So I'm going to turn it 4 more clicks. And it has the degrees also printed on the little knob. But you always want to start at 0. That's my last 4 clicks. I'm going to ink this up 1 more time. My little bat image from that Stampers Anonymous stamp set. And I don't even know if that has a name. I know it had numbers, but I never could find a name besides Halloween. So I'm stamp that down. Now I'm going to remove that and set it back to 0. Anyway, if I can't find this exact stamp set and stencil, I will link something similar in the supply list below. So now I'm going to use my stamp platform as my stamp positioning tool for this whole process. That's another great thing about it. And if you notice those little knobs up at the top around that little V, you have the 4 little knobs. Apparently, you can line their stencils up on this as well. I don't know that. That's what I heard from another creator. I need to actually ask her because she works for the company. I need to ask her more about that. So I've stamped my moon down in the antique linen distress oxide ink, and now I'm going to stamp my little corn stalks. I'm going to stamp those in generational stamping, and so I've just kind of did the first stamping, and I stamped in Rustic Wilderness Distressed Oxide ink. And I'm just doing 1st, 2nd, and 3rd generation stamping with that. So I've only had to ink that up just a very few amount of times. And I'm going to continue that to the other side. I'm going to add some more to this, so don't you worry. There's way more stuff coming. All right, so we're going to add, this is just part 1 of our building blocks for our background. So I'm going to stamp that a couple more times, and now I'm going to go ahead and stamp it full strength 1 more time. And you can see I have no problem stamping with just using this rotating stamp platform as a stamp positioning tool. So if you don't have one, it's a good thing to invest in. I don't remember. I think it was under $20. So I'll have it's listed below in the visual supply list. So I've stamped that on the other side as well to mirror out and balance out my images. Now I'm going to stamp my little scarecrow, and I'm going to stamp him in tuxedo black ink. Now you only see 1 magnet. There's actually 2 that comes with it. Rick has lost one of them. as soon as I got it. So as I'm inking up my stamp, I realize that there might be a reason it was on clearance. There's a big spot on it that doesn't stamp. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp it up again because I didn't get a good impression. I'll just stamp that up again. Now, if you remember to a video like the other day, I showed you how to fix a stamp if you had this problem. So we're going to take our alcohol marker friendly pen and we're just going to fill in those little lines. And you don't have to go all fancy. Remember, this is super simple. You're just filling those lines in so you can add some color in it and get this baby moving. That's all you got to do. So I've already done that. Now we're going to zoom in. We're going to do some coloring today. And I'm doing simple coloring, and I'm using my Oahu markers. I'm going to do the brown shades that I'm working on right now. I'm layering that on first. But it's E440, E536, and E363. And I will have all these colors listed on the blog post for the color combinations. You can find it there. I'm coming in with my, this is the E56. And what I'm doing is I'm adding a base color to my stamped image because I'm going to go over this. I wanted it to look a little more shadowy and grungy than what originally I had worked out. So now I'm coming back in with my oranges, and I'm using YR892, YR792, and YR696 in those colors. And the YR892 is my darkest, and I'm blending out the way out to the lightest color. Super easy. No fancy coloring, just basic ink blend coloring for this. All right, we're going to move on to our oh, that's my lightest orange. Silly me. All right, I'm going to color his shirt green, and that is G448, G458, and G370. And if you're just getting into alcohol markers, Oahu is a great way to go. They're budget friendly. They have good colors, and you just pick the ones that you like. Y'all know I have the brush set with the chisel, but they also have the brush set with the fine nib, which is what I should have gotten to begin with. But I didn't, so I went ahead and ordered the fine tip markers as well. Such a terrible situation. All right, for my violet, I'm using V449, V460, and V463 as my lightest color. And I'm just blending those pants right on out in the band of his hat up there. So now we're going to color his little face. And for that, I chose Y569, Y583, and Y585, and Y488. Why I chose 4 for this, I don't know. It just blended out right. I don't know. Anyway, we're just going to add that. We're going to add our 5, or Y, whatever that one is. I don't remember. I also added that to the straw hanging out. I'm going to blend that out with the Y488. And now I'm going to color his hat with some warm grays. And this is warm gray 200, warm gray 190, and warm gray 180. Basically, it is WG9, WG8, and as I get the 200 would be more like the 10. So we're just going to color those out, blend those out. And there is all my coloring. I told y'all it was super simple today. All right, now I've got this on my grip mat, and they don't no longer, Waffle Flower no longer sells the big one. They have a different size that's a little longer. That's the new one they came out with. If they still have this available, I don't think they do, but if they do, it'll be listed. Otherwise, I'll have the other one listed too. It's a great set to have. Or you could just use your stamp platform things. So I'm blending on. I started out with my seedless preserves, and that's going to went around the moon because I wanted to have that spooky little halo like we've done in the previous card around the moon. So now I'm coming in with some blueprint sketch, and I'm working those blends together. And it doesn't matter if the blends are super perfect or not. It does not matter. It's because we're blending everything in together. So it's all going to work out in the end. So it works perfect. Now I'm coming in with some black soot because we're going to deepen up that night sky and really make this card start popping. Because, you know, it is night and we have our little scary cornfield. So we got to have that black in there to make that really pop. And I've kept this really simple to the 3-color blend here. And so I'll come back with that blue and blend that in a little bit more and blend that into the black soot. Again, super easy, y'all. We're not complicating this card. Oh, and by the way, this is day 17 of the Spooky Sweet Halloween series. This is our last day for the actual series, but I will have some other cards coming out this month. All right, now I've took that stencil and I'm just going to selectively ink areas, and I'm using it's the plaid pattern. I'm using my Seedless Preserves, and I'm just adding that to the background. In the end, I don't think you actually end up seeing this because of the technique I'm going to do next. But, well, yeah, you can too. I'm just looking at the card. You can see it a little lightly. So I'm going to come in with some black soot and do the little X's. It's supposed to, I think they're supposed to line up in the other pattern. I never could get it to do it. And, you know, I'm impatient, so I just moved right along and just put it where I wanted it. So we're just going to add a few of those around just to add some texture into that background even more. Push that cornfield back and keep that moon popping out from our scarecrow. Now, I'm going to wet the stencil, and I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to pop that water right onto our background. And what happens is the background picks up and lifts up that stencil texture. Happy accident. I will totally be using that technique again. So now I'm going to just split on some water, or splat on some water, not spit it on. We don't want to spit nothing on. So we're going to pop that water on, and I'm going to pop it off with a little microfiber cloth. And I'm going to dry that. After I peel that up, I'll dry that. But while that's just sitting to the side drying, I'm taking my 5.5 inch by 5 and this. All right, the first panel was 5 by 5 that we did all the ink blending. Now this panel that I'm ink blending the black soot on now is 5.25 by 5.25. That's what that's supposed to be. I knew it was something. All right, so I'm just going to ink blend black soot all the way around there. You could take it direct to paper with your ink pad. I just chose to just save ink and just do a little ink blending around the edge. I wanted kind of the texture in there because that's going to be my matte layer, so I didn't have to do all of it, just around the edge. Now I'm taking that antique linen, and I'm just taking a scrap piece of cardstock and just blending over that. And I believe this is the Ohuhu cardstock, not Ohuhu, the Hammer Mill cardstock. And I've sprinkled on that texture. I'll dry that panel also, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to die cut my sentiment out of that. And my sentiment for this card is thinking of you. And I thought it was kind of funny because you had the little scary look scarecrow in there looking. And I think it's funny to send somebody a thinking of you card for Halloween with this. Anyway, so I'm going to pop on my card front. And my card base is a 5.5 by 11 inch piece of cardstock, scored in half at 5.5. So I think you can get 5.5 inch envelopes for a 5.5 inch card. If not, you can make one after some scrap paper, designer series paper, because that's what I'm planning on doing. Now I'm going to take, after I've layered that up, and I'm going to put that onto my card base. And I did make it a top folding. I know I had to. It takes better pictures that way. So I'm popping that on, and now I'm going to take and add my sentiment. And I will tell you that you should be careful when you're die cutting those and don't lose the tittles to the eyes. There are 2 of them in that. So I'm just going to continue on adding my little dots of liquid glue using my fabulous new glue press. And so far I'm really enjoying it. And I have left this baby sitting out on my desk in the little holder for over a week now and have had no issues, because if you put it in right, it will not clog up. So that's a good thing. So I've soaked down the thinking part, and now I'm going of the and I've added just tiny bits of liquid glue under there, and I'll just pop that on. I love the texture of the white, or the antique linen with the little splashes of water for the sentiment. I think it adds just the perfect little spooky little touch to the sentiment. And another little happy accident was when I die cut it actually peeled off some of the ink, so it gave it a little different texture as well. So I put down my little U, and now I'm going to add my little tittles. I've just dotted that glue where I want right over the eyes. So we're going to add our little tittles, and then I'm going to add some white gel pen highlights. Y'all should have known that was coming if you watched any of this series whatsoever. And if you haven't, you can find the playlist right below. Don't forget about that. So we're just adding our little highlights, and I'm just I didn't add too many this time. I'm going to add a little bit to the little crow sitting on the little scarecrow's head. Oh, I did go over his mouth with my black Securicoid gel rope pen to make it stand out, and his little eyes, they were not standing out a little bit. So I made them a little bit more stand outish. Now, to finish off my card, I'm going to pop on some of the Magic Rocks rhinestones from Trinity Stamps. We're going to just sprinkle those in the diagonal pattern opposite of our scarecrow. And I think, I did 7. I had to do an odd number. So we're just going to pop on. And I used I used 3 of the sizes that's in that set to add those on. And I just kind of sporadically stuck them down where I wanted them, different sizes to go. I added 6 around the scarecrow, and then 1 up at the top by the sentiment to draw your eye up. And so it makes it super easy to keep that eye moving towards around the card and back to the sentiment. Here's a closer look at the card, and I hope y'all enjoyed this video. And if you did, you're probably going to like the one coming up right there. Bye, guys.